Hello and welcome to JRock's Babylon. I am your host, Jason JRock Houston, and today with us we've got Christine, Christina Avila, who is a great publicist. She's given me some great interviews over the years. I don't know where you want to start, Christina. Probably the best place to start is the beginning, as far as how you first got into doing what it is you do, and all that, and bring us up to kind of what you're doing now.
Sure. I started a while ago after I lost both of my parents. They were big into music, and music was always big in my house as a kid, all kinds of music. And my dad was Hispanic, he was Cuban, and my mom was Arab American. And as a kid with three older sisters, I remember American Bandstand,
Oh yeah, me
Solid
too.
Gold,
Yeah.
Soul Train, and I always wanted to get involved with music somehow. And I remember the record stores, two
Yeah,
of
me
them.
too. Yeah,
Um,
that's funny you say that because I often talk about that. If you ever watched any of my interviews, I'm aging myself here as well. But I used to spend hours in the record store. I used to love to go to
yes,
Tower Records was my favorite. Today, you'll talk to some of these kids and they'll be like, "A record? What's that? A record store? Oh well, we used to have these places where you could actually buy music."
exactly. We had a record town on the bottom floor. I live in Connecticut. It was the Trumbull Mall, and
Okay.
upstairs was a Graf Lodman. And then there used to be Strawberries in Bridgeport, where I grew up. Um, we still have an FYE, which is amazing because a lot of the towns in
Yeah, some
Connecticut
of those in the
are.
malls, and I do like those. It's amazing. When I grown up, I'm from the Los Angeles, Long Beach, California, to be specific, but um, the malls, any mall you go to back in the day would have like a music store. The ones that were famous around here were like, and I think some of them were national. Like I mentioned, Tower Records, The
Right.
Warehouse, Music Plus, Licorice Pizza. Now, like the closest record store to me is like almost an hour away in Hollywood, in Hollywood Boulevard. But
Right.
yeah, even Target stopped, really having they have a little tiny CD, and they're selling vinyl in some of the stores and Barnes and Noble. So the vinyl's been making a comeback. That's really interesting.
Yes, I was just at a really cool record shop yesterday that's been in Connecticut for 40 plus years called Merle's Record Rack.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh, they have everything. They have the old circus magazines, Teen Bop, they have
Village, yeah, Circus, Hit Parader. Those used to be all my rag.
Heavyweighter, yes, they have autograph posters, vinyl, CDs, cassettes even.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they're
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And when I was 18, I always wanted to go to Los Angeles. Never been in my life.
Oh
I'm
wow,
about,
wow, you got to come here. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, it's
I
crazy. So many crazy things here, but I don't know that I'd want to live anywhere else but here. I mean, it's kind of highly taxed and stuff, but other than that, I still the weather's pretty good. You can't beat it.
right. I
Yeah,
live about an hour and 45 minutes from New York City by train. And I remember in New York, they had Tower Records with two floors.
yeah, yeah,
Whenever
yeah.
I visited New York, that was like the thing that we did first.
Yeah, I
Me and
used
my
to I used to
daughter.
always like I would go and like I would plan, depending on when my payday was, like what I was going to get next. Okay, like I remember when the Black album came out. Okay, I'm going to save my money for that. That's coming out next. Everything used to come out on Tuesdays. Now it's Friday, so they kind of
Right,
changed that. I remember I used to have these record release days, like okay, like Guns N' Roses coming out with Use Your Illusion set. Come, we'll put it on sale at midnight. You can be here to get that. Sometimes they would have the big bands come and do autograph sessions. So yeah, you're taking me back, and it's kind of funny. Another thing I got it into is like besides music, really, and supporting the music I believe in is pop culture. I have a show I do now. I did a previous one with a great co-host named Gar Boris, and the thing of it is I realized that besides music, they're like talking about classic TV shows, movies, and stuff from back in the day when we were growing up. I never realized like how big a part of that of my life it was, and just talking about it's amazing that you could talk about this stuff for hours.
yes. I mean, I grew up with, like I said, American Bandstand. I grew up with Gilligan's Island,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Uh,
original, oh, I forgot the name.
It's funny,
It's a
you bring up
movie series
American
now.
Bandstand. They had Soul Train, Solid Gold back in the day, and
Yes,
all these shows. Eventually, what's funny is they eventually all ran their course.
I
And
know.
and
I
what
miss it.
I was amazed, like talking about. I did I did an episode once talking about American Bandstand, and what I had no idea until I did the research for a show was, come lo and behold, come to find out, there was actually a host that predates um, uh, uh,
Dick Clark?
Dick Clark, and yeah, excuse me, I got a brain fart, but
It's okay.
yeah, but predates Dick Clark because we all think of American Bandstand, we all think of Dick Clark was the face and the voice of that for all those years, but there was actually an original host predating him, and he got let go for like some kind of sexual scandal, being involved with a having some kind of affair with a young girl,
Oh
and got
boy.
in a drunk driving accident or something. But so like doing the shows like I do, it's funny to go back and like learn stuff like that I didn't even know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so that's a
I
little bit about who we are, Christina. But let me ask you specifically, because we're here to talk about you and allow you to tell your story. So how old were you? What was it point? Because you and I have had, I never like met you in person. The first time we're actually seeing each other face to face. We've, over the years, we've contacted each other, obviously, through like Messenger and Facebook and stuff like that. You called
right.
me a few times. Like I said, you give me a few great interviews over years. One of the people I know that you and I have as far as a mutual friend is Rick Fox. So um, I think Rick Fox has to be part of his story or part of a talk today because you
Yes.
worked with him a lot. So why don't we start with Rick and how you hooked up with him and the work you did with him?
So about right before the pandemic hit, there's a great guy named Ian Chris, and he's a front man from New Jersey, and he had a band called Rock Candy, and it was a holiday show with Ted Poley. Now I always liked Ted Poley, always wanted to meet him. So my fiance and I went, and I got to meet Ian Chris, and Ted Poley was just coming off of a cruise in Germany,
Mm.
and I got to talk to Ian, got to meet Ian, really nice guy. Um, he was the one that told me about Rick Fox because he and Rick were in a band in New York in the 70s called Sin.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And because of Ian, I haven't met Rick in person, but we connected. And Rick is originally from New York.
yeah, yeah,
And so many things we've had in common. And he's been an advisor to me about who to work with, who not
yeah,
to work with, who to stick around, who to kind of stay away from. And he's in Missouri now.
yeah.
He lived in LA, but now he's in Missouri. And he's just such a nice guy.
He really is. I kind of
Humble
latched onto
too.
Rick. I mean, initially because like you just go on. I urge people go on the Wikipedia and type in like Rick Fox. You'll be amazed at the guy's story. I mean, just a few highlights like he's one of the few musicians I know. I typically talk to musicians. They either come from the East Coast or the West Coast. He's actually been part of both rock scenes. Started out in New York. He was there very like he wasn't involved Kiss as far as like auditioning for the band, but he knew Peter Criss. He dated his sister. He was at some of the early shows. He took some pictures. It ended up
Right,
some books. People kind of stole his photos. They didn't give him the credit. And Rick Fox was one of these guys that he kind of had a career. He kind of made it, but um, he's kind of like a little foot. I don't want to say a footnote, but you know what I mean. He's one of
right,
those guys that okay, I've heard the name Rick. Where have I heard the name Rick Fox? And then you do a little more research. You find okay, yeah, he was in Wasp briefly. They try to bury that, and that's another kind of interesting aspect of a Rick Fox story because I don't know why it is because to me he seems like I've never had anything but him be a super nice guy to me, and
right,
like he's had these things along the way. I mean, I don't know why would you try to bury the fact that he's in WAS. I mean, there's pictures and there's things out there on the internet to kind of prove it. He's not, he's what he's saying is true. And so he even told me that like a few years ago when he popped up back in LA for a few years, um, he was showing up like advertising, going to these tribute nights like at the Whiskey, and I was asking him about that. He's like, you'd be amazed, I didn't, because some of the people there were nice to me. He says, but some kind of were really kind of making sure that I didn't get to take part in future events. And it's and like he's like some people just kind of maybe for whatever reason, you know. So again, he's one of those characters who I don't know why he's always been nice to me, but he has an interesting story. So I think at the very least he deserves the opportunity to tell his story. Yeah,
Yes, more credit than he deserves.
yeah, yeah. And in fact, the site I was previously with, Chaotic Risk, we did or I did rather, like a 12 or 13 part interview series with him that we called the Rick Fox story because, and what it was is basically each episode, I would pull some like a section off of his Wikipedia, kind of like tell him the different chapters of his life. So um, there's episodes in there. If you search that out on YouTube, just type in the Rick Fox story, and there's like 13 episodes. Like I said, it'll pop up. And we did it that way for number one because his story is so massive to tell, so different, many different parts. So you might think, okay, well, the big part's going to be talking about when he was in WAS. Well, there's that. There's there's a Steeler part. There's all these other things he's even currently doing now. Um, there's the fact that he worked in the movie business for a while. So, we talked about all of that, and I think people, if they go, search that out, they'll really get the complete Rick Fox story, or they'll get to kind of a better understanding of who he is.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. He's very
yeah,
intelligent.
yeah, yeah. And Rick and I, again, I've never met Rick face to face, just kind of interviewing him a number of times over years. Um, and when I first hooked up with Rick, initially we just talked over the phone, and it was like an old style kind of interview over a phone. We posted the audio, but like I said, we did the Rick Fox story, and so that's the first time we did anything like over Zoom, and it was kind of fun to actually be able to see him, kind of like what we're doing today, and I'm kind of seeing him and talking back and forth, and that made that a lot more interesting, a lot more fun. I think kind of what we're um, doing today. Now, I know also Christina recently, um, we're in the process of setting up an interview with one of your other clients, Joel Ellis, maybe for next week, and I got to reach out to Joel, and we'll get that scheduled now. Recently, you also gave me two other guys. One was an artist named Dave Revels, and
Yes.
what I want to bring up about that is Dave was a super nice guy, but this is what I think people got to realize is you got to be willing to open your ears a little, expand your typical horizon. I mean, you look at the background here. Typically, I um, I support and I promote hard rock and metal artists. Now, here's an interesting thing about the interview with Dave. Um, he kind of describes himself as like a kind of R&B rock, and I get that, and I hear that in his music. But here's the interesting thing: I typically probably would not have reached out to an artist like Dave just for the simple fact that he's not in my orbit, so to speak, or orbit of artists that I typically deal with. But I thought, okay, well, like you said, that you give me some great interviews. So I thought, okay, well, I'll kind of help Christina out here. And my mindset going into it was not so much that "Oh, I don't want to do this because he's not a hard rock or metal guy. But I thought, you know what? Let's have a conversation with the guy anyway. Let's at the end of the day, the job was to not just help you out, Christina, but the opportunity was to talk to Dave, no matter what the type of music is he does, give him an opportunity in his own words to tell his story. And I think it was one of the best interviews I ever did. Maybe it was for that reason. I mean, at the end of the day, like I told Dave, I don't think it's so much about if you do hard rock, if you're a hard rock or metal artist, you're a nice guy. You told your story, and we had a great conversation at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. He
Yeah.
reached out to me or I reached out to him. There's a blues rock
Yeah.
recording artist named the Name Droppers, Bobby Torello. He's been in the scene for 50 plus years. And his guitar player, Rafe Klein, I don't know, I made some post about the Name Droppers and Dave responded and I asked Rafe about him and Rafe said, yeah, you gotta check out his music.
Mhm.
And I think with his music, it's just helped me, not only me, but anyone that's just going through a hard time with going through an injury, losing a parent. His
Yeah.
music is just positive. It's good stuff that we need to hear.
The thing about music to me has always been it's great for connecting people.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is, but I think specifically, I don't know because I'm talking from my perspective at least from uh, since I listen typically to hard rock and metal. Believe it or not, those artists, those people, the metal community, when they get together, they unite. I mean, a great example of that is there was recently this huge Kiss event in Las Vegas celebrating 50 years of Kiss, and um, and they had all kinds of people show up at that event. I mean, 50 years worth of fans, as you can um, imagine. But there was nobody fighting at the event. There was nothing crazy going on. It's just a celebration of a band that all these people got together to celebrate. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I was part of the Kiss Army. I didn't do the makeup or the t-shirt, but I have the t-shirts or the makeup, but I am just a diehard Ace Frehley.
I got to ask. So,
Mm.
bringing that up, I mean, how shocked were you by Ace's death, or would you say it affected you in a big way, or do you want to talk
Yes.
all about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I grew up with him. Again, I grew up with all kinds of music. But something about Ace Frehley, I saw him. There's a really cool theater here in Connecticut, in Bridgeport, 10 minutes from here, called the Amphitheater, Hartford Healthcare Amphitheater. And he did a show with Alice Cooper.
Oh
But the
wow.
thing that stood out about Ace Frehley, everybody in his band did backup vocals. And his drummer, Matt Starr, is a Connecticut native. Matt was a custodian in one of the schools
Oh
about
wow.
45 minutes from
That's
me.
great. I wasn't aware of that part of Matt Starr's
Yes. But
story,
he
but let
keeps,
me tell you,
yeah.
he's
And
a
then,
drummer that over the last couple of years is starting to really get his dues. I mean, he's played over years, like you said, on some of Ace's albums, played live with him. He's also when the drummer from Mr. Big got ill, Pat
hmm
Torpey, and he passed away. He was in Mr.
right.
Big for a few years. He's now also, I think, playing with the supergroup Black Swan. So it's good to see a guy like Matt finally getting his dues.
Yes, he even came to Connecticut, and he did a seminar at this library in Westport, Connecticut. They have like seminars and they have free tickets so you can attend. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend
Uh,
it. But he gave really good advice. And that show with Alice Cooper, I've seen Alice about 5 different times.
I seen,
That
I mean,
show
just to give you an
meant,
idea, I seen Alice like twice now in my life. The last time was about maybe 2 years ago at the Orange County Fair, which is kind of the equivalent of a state fair, but they had it in this massive outdoor amphitheater.
nice.
And I will say this: for besides the amphitheater, every seat in the house was a great seat. No matter where you could see the stage pretty close. And Alice, for being a guy that's in his mid 70s, he still rocks the house. He still puts on a killer um,
Yes.
show, and so you got to give it to the guy his age, especially.
77.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. So when I heard about Ace, I just thought, oh my gosh, no.
yeah.
No. I mean, he was just, I just saw a clip. He was on the Jimmy Fallon show with
Oh
Jimmy
wow.
Fallon's band doing American New York Groove. And I thought, oh my gosh, he was a musician, but he acted so normal. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's
He
what they
just
are at the end of the day. They're just normal people.
yeah, down to earth, friendly guy. I never had the
Yes.
pleasure of meeting him, but the kind of unique thing was on the day he died. He had suffered like this head injury, fell in his studio. There was the first time, then the second time. But the particular day he's dying, all of a sudden I'm at work and all the stuff about Ace being in the hospital, he's on death's door. And again, I knew about his injury, but I'm like, okay, this is a lot of massive news. Like every second you were being loaded up on the internet with news about his condition. At one point it says, he's on his deathbed, just minutes away from um, dying, and by the time I come home that evening, he had passed. And my point with all this is, with the internet today, you really don't know what to believe. You got to kind of
Right.
like before you go online and you post, "Hey, Ace Frehley just died." You better make sure. And I'll give you a great example of that I've been noticing more and more, Christina. I don't know if you come encounter with this, any of the artists you deal with, but more and more it's becoming a new thing with AI. Somebody is generating these
Yes.
AI stories. I mean, And it's funny in a way because like I started seeing a lot of his stuff after like Ace Frehley died. For example, you'd read, okay, before he died, he sent each of his ex Kiss band members a letter. Okay, maybe that's true. And then like I started seeing stuff for the next couple of weeks. Oh, Ace sent a letter to John Bon Jovi, to Bret Michaels, guys that, as far as I know it, he never really met or had any true connection with. And so I start to kind of, doubt this stuff. And then I seen some the other day that kind of even it kind of sounds bizarre. Like there's this fake story about Bret Michaels that Bret Michaels accidentally starts International Bandana Day. He wears a bandana on social media, and all of a sudden he announces it's international. And now is now to celebrate, the U.S. Post Office is coming out with a Bret Michaels postal stamp wearing a bandana. Yeah,
That's crazy. And what's scary about AI,
yeah,
myself included, so many people I know, and they're not promoters or anything, just regular people,
yeah.
or even someone noticed it of me. There's this AI thing, avatar
Yeah.
of someone that looks like me, but it's
Oh,
not me,
wow.
posting like all this negative stuff that I don't do at all.
Yeah.
So
And
just be
maybe
more, Jason.
it could be somebody that you had an encounter with, and for whatever reason they're ragging on you. But some of the stuff I'm starting
It's
to pick up on.
crazy.
Some of these stories are somewhat believable. Like, okay, I can see somebody maybe believing Ace Frehley before he died sent his former band members a letter, maybe. But then I start seeing stuff like, and I when I started picking up on Christina, this is I'm kind of curious if you picked up on any of these fake stories. I've been noticing it's about the same people. So then like we're talking about one story like got Gene Simmons dying in a hospital. He's got just months to live. He's got terminal cancer. I know
Right.
similar story on Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler, Ace Frehley, Gene Simmons, Bon Jovi, Bret Michaels,
Alice Cooper, I've been
Alice
seeing
Cooper.
lately
All these
too.
guys are dying of terminal cancer.
Rick
Um,
Springfield too.
yeah, I mean, like Steven Tyler, his son is on his deathbed. I'm like, all this stuff can't really be true, And
Right.
and I'm starting to notice, pick up, it's like the same people we're reporting on, which obviously it's the people that are the most popular celebrities to try to get clickbait. Probably the funniest one was about 2 weeks ago. I see a picture of Gene Simmons supposedly in the hospital with his wife Shannon, and it says at 76 years old, Gene Simmons and his wife just had uh, twin sons in Los Angeles in the hospital.
What?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
like, and people
gosh.
believe this stuff. I'm like, no way.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
so
I just know it's not that people have anything against me. I think everything is computer generated, and you
well,
just gotta
you
be
never know. I say
careful.
that only because, um, I'm not going to name anybody here, but I know of a particular artist that you used to work with that I did an interview with, and nothing against him. The interview went great, but let's just say he kind of had an ego, or
Oh,
I think you know who I'm talking about. Um, he kind of wanted me to take out something he said. I said, look, I don't really have equipment to do that, so I post interviews as is. If you don't like it, I'll pull the interview. I can do that, but I don't have the ability to cut it up.
be careful what you say.
Yeah,
Just be
yeah,
careful what you say.
yeah. And
Hmm.
in a way, I like that. That's another thing I always used to do, just because I do not really have that ability to edit stuff. So I always tell people, even back in the days, talking about technology and how it's changed. Years ago, one of the first things we started doing back at Chaotic Risk was we would record all our interviews like over the cell phone. I had a digital recorder, and you download the recording into the computer, and then I would have to literally sit there and kind of listen back word for word, and so I'm like, okay, these are totally unedited. We're not editing anything, and people kind of like that because you get to hear it as is, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. The truth, which we don't hear anymore.
yeah. And so what are some of the let me ask you, as far as like if anybody is looking for a publicist, Christina, they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
They can email me at CHRISTINA, A V as in Victor, ILA,
Mhm.
41 at gmail.com, or they can
Okay.
find me on Instagram. It's at crazycuban73.
Uh-huh.
Um, I have a personal and I have a business page. My business page is www.facebook.com/crazycuban73. And
Okay.
then I have a personal page too. And I just started a TikTok page.
Oh, okay, okay. And how's that going for you? Like, what kind of stuff are you putting
I
up on?
have fun. Okay, so excuse me, I'm just getting over a cough.
Uh,
Um, about 4 or 5 months ago, my daughter surprised me. She got me tickets to see this I Want My 80s tour. It was
okay.
Paul Young, Wang Chung, John Wayne, and Rick Springfield.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
everyone and their mother all loved Rick. I liked him, but I wasn't really into him. I like more of his music. But she got me tickets. My fiance and I got to see them all. He is 76 and he looks amazing. He
Yeah,
looks
I remember years
incredible.
ago, my grandmother used to love watching him on General
General
Hospital,
Hospital.
and
Yes.
I will
He,
say I don't have any Rick Springfield records in my collection. I will say that I've never attended a concert, but I've seen clips of his concerts. He puts on a pretty good show. His
yes.
still rocks pretty good, and I will say, truthfully, I can't probably name another song other than Jesse's Girls, but I've heard a few. Like there was one he's got called "I'll Do Anything for You" or something like that. But and
Right.
Sammy Hagar actually did a cover of that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
He's going to be performing at the New Year's Rockin' Eve in New York. So when
You
I
see,
saw it, I
that's a
thought,
show
well,
I might not seek out tickets, but if somebody said, "Hey, you want to go catch," I think I'd probably go. You know?
he's incredible. You don't want to miss him. He's
Yeah.
funny, lighthearted. Um, at the end of the show, of course, he takes his shirt off, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow. But
Yes.
just to see that he's a normal human
Yeah.
being, he's funny. When you see him his interviews, he smiles, he laughs.
Yeah.
Um,
I
when I
seen him
saw,
recently do an interview go on Billy Corrigan's podcast, and
yes,
you forget until he starts telling his story that he's originally from Australia. You know?
right.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's now. Let me ask you, Christina, when you decide you're gonna work with an artist or a musician, do you necessarily have to be a fan of their music, or is this more
No.
of a business thing? Like, well, if, I think they would be a good client. We could make some money here. I mean, what goes into deciding if you're going to work with somebody?
So one of the musicians, and this is the first time this has ever happened, Jeff Suma has a jam band. He was referred to me from his producer, Vic Steffens. And I never really heard of a jam band,
Mhm.
got into their music, but I guess meeting him in person, he was just funny,
I could see that because that's another interview you set me
lighthearted.
up with Jeff, and what's funny is I went because I like to prepare for interviews, and so if I'm going to interview somebody. Same thing with Dave Rebels. Um, Especially if I've never heard it, I'm going to go at least on YouTube and seek out their music so I can hear some samples of their music before I talk to them. And
Mm-hmm.
like I guess you could describe Jeff's music kind of as a jam band. That's a
Right.
good description. I never heard anything like that, but it wasn't bad music. And what's funny is about doing that interview. That's probably music I never would have sought out or heard had it not been asked by you to do the interview. And I bring this up because what's interesting if you go and you watch that interview, I don't know if you had a chance to see it,
Yes, I've seen them all.
but what's
Yes.
funny is you listen to that music and then you see the interview I did with Jeff, and he's talking all throughout the interview how he's such a huge like Sabbath and Ozzy fan. You listen to that
Yes.
music and you never would have guessed that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Definitely.
I'm kind of thinking, well, that it's kind of funny, but but what I did like about his music was I always love like kind of upbeat music as opposed to one thing I hate about grunge music was like probably my favorite grunge band would have to be Alice in Chains because it's kind of got a Sabbathy vibe to what they do, but the songs are still pretty good. But like a lot of that other stuff, like it would just bring me down music. It's like And I get it. That's what they were writing about at the time, how they were feeling that angst and talking about all the stuff that they were depressed about. But that's why a lot of those bands I just could never really get into.
Right. Audio Slave, I think Chris Cornell was very bluesy, Led
Yeah,
Zeppelin
yeah.
like. So I got into him for that reason. Um, Jeff is just an interesting guy. He's funny, lighthearted. He's one of the things I look for as far as working with bands is communication, respect, honesty. I mean, maybe it's because I was brought up old school.
Mhm.
Um, and the same for me. I have to respect them. I have to communicate with them. But our relationship, friendship that we have, all musicians I work with, it's not only a business, it's a friendship. We can
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about how you feeling today? How you doing? What kind of sports do you like? What do you like to
Yeah,
eat?
yeah,
Lighthearted stuff.
yeah, yeah. And what's funny is sometimes like my experience, like we had this band, Hurricane. They've been around several years in the LA area. They've been through many lineup changes. At one point, Kelly Hansen from Foreigner was
Yes, I
in there.
remember them.
And Carlos Cavazo, he's now in the band with his brother Tony Cavazo. And I bring this up because they put out a new album about maybe 2 years ago now. We had the band on, and I really was digging the new music. Thought we were super nice to the guys, and then they split up with their guitar player, which was Robert Sarzo, who is oddly enough Rudy Sarzo's brother.
Right. Cuban guys too, like
Yeah,
myself.
and Robert's a super nice guy, and so after they split, I invite both people to come back, Robert separately and then the band to kind of, hey, do you want to talk about what's happening? And I'd been super nice to these guys on the show. They didn't have an issue, but then never really heard back. And then I wrote to Tony's wife, who was the manager, just kind of seeking out. They wanted to come on. And I got an email back from Tony, and he's like, they told me, well, at the time, I remember telling me, my brother Carlos is in the band now, this and that. So I kind of report that on my, they didn't tell me I couldn't report it. I mean, I'd seen them report it on the internet, so I thought there was no harm in this. And then he's telling me, it seems like you're making a lot of drama about what's going on with the band, man. He goes, and they never wanted to come back. Like, hey, we were nice to you guys. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know what the problem is. I'm not looking to create any kind of drama. I'm just
right.
reporting what you told me.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And then, another funny experience, real quick, before we wrap it up, that I remember having years ago when I would do these email type of interviews where you'd reach out to somebody and you'd email them a question, they complete the question, send it back to you when they had time. Was this guy that used to be years ago on Metal Sludge, CC Banana, and he's a guy who was dressed up like this banana, and he'd do these interviews for the website, kind of crazy. And so I had the opportunity to interview him, and I never had experienced anything like this. Where I mean, I got pretty good grammar, and I was typing. I put the interview up, and he had such a like. His biggest complaint was like telling me, correcting every bit of grammar. Like there's a comma missing from here, and there's a comma. If you can't write the article right, then I demand you take the interview down. And sadly, I was getting frustrated at the time, but I thought, hey, it's not worth it to me. Fine, I'll take the interview down. And sadly, not too long after that, you hear the guy committed suicide, and I'm very sad to hear that, but it obviously kind of proves my point, which sadly the guy had issues,
Gee.
hung up on hung up on grammar, and I had a lot of fun doing these interviews over the years. So it's something I continue to do.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
enjoy promoting. I'm learning so much. They're learning from me. I'm having a
yeah,
blast. And I mean, I don't know if you wanted to ask me, but one of the things that I could say, and not just as a promoter publicist, but in general, just be yourself. Don't worry
yeah.
about what others
Be
think,
authentic. Be authentic.
what
I
they
mean,
say. Be unique, be yourself. Don't care about what anyone says or thinks because that can just affect you in such a negative way. Keep on going. I was listening to a song today from one of my favorite bands, Shine Down,
uh,
and it's called Get Up. And it just makes you feel so good, so empowered to keep on going no
yeah,
matter what.
yeah. You're so right about being authentic. I mean, I worked with this one site before I launched JRock's Babylon 4 months ago for the last 17 years. for the first 16 years, it was great. And then we almost had an opportunity to take it to like streaming and do some stuff. And then the guy behind the site started getting really greedy, became a huge control freak, started chasing trends to the sense of like, okay, where I had all these contacts with publicists like you, but I got great interviews over years. I continue to reach out to these people. And he started telling me, Jason, we're not going to keep interviewing the same people. We're only going to have top tier guests on our show because his goal was like trying to get crazy viral numbers. We had some episodes that did get crazy viral numbers, but he's one of these guys that wanted it for every single episode. Um, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to tell I don't know if you know who Chipster PR, but they're a pretty big
Yes.
publishing
Yeah.
promotion company. They've given me interviews with like everybody from the dictators to Albert Bouchard, Ross Abbas, and many more over the years. And like I tell them, I'm not going to tell those people that hey, this guy you want me to interview, he's not a top tier guest, so we can't take him. And that's why
Right.
I walked away and decided to do my own thing. I had to start over. I'm kind of rebuilding, but I'm doing it, and in time it'll get to that point. That's what I found. Like you said, be authentic, be yourself. After 17 years, he wants to kill what we created. He wants to make it something else. He wants. I mean, and don't get me wrong, this is the way the business is. He's got every right to do it. But I used to co-host the This Is Metal show. I basically created it. I developed the show. Me and him never once sat in a meeting and I came up with the idea for the show. The show became successful. The original co-host leaves, and we get my good friend Tom Collier. I reach out to Tom, and he becomes a new co-host. We become bigger and more successful. But again, he told me at one point, everybody thinks you and Tom are This Is Metal. Well, we kind of are. We're the face of it, anyways. Um, and rather, I mean, he had every right to kind of, once Tom walked away and once I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore, he could have kept that show going. But he's still got the same Facebook page, and again, he can do this. Because he wants to keep all the same, he's got a huge list of followers because 17 years worth of work, that we did. And, but he's not like, he said, I don't want to continue with this event. We'll just kill it. So again, his right to do that. But I'm doing my own thing now. I'm much happier. And that's all I got to say as far as that goes.
Right. No, me too. I had a team. I had a couple of people I was working with, and sadly, they just saw things differently than me.
Yeah.
So now that I'm working with the right people because of Rick, because of Jeff, because of
Yeah.
Dave, name
Hey,
droppers.
Christina, I hate to
So
interrupt you, but Zoom's going to cut us off. But I will say
that's
real quick,
okay.
I'd like to maybe have you back next month and we can continue the
Sure.
conversation. Maybe it's something we can
Sure.
do once a month. So let's think about that. Okay.
Definitely.
Hey, take care, Christina. Thanks again.
Thank you. You too.
Bye bye.